Disclaimer: This episode discusses suicidal ideations and extreme content that may be triggering to some. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the 8158 podcast Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guest, Robb Watts, has walked through fire both on the job and in life. Growing up in a home marked by abuse, Robb found escape in sports and the outdoors, but his path took a sharp turn when he entered the world of firefighting and EMS. From the streets of Pine Bluff, what he calls the Wild Wild West, Robb witnessed trauma few could imagine: drive-bys, gang violence, and the loss of children. Over time, the weight of those calls, the nightmares, and the flashbacks began to change him, pushing him toward alcohol, narcotics, and even suicidal thoughts. But Robb's story didn't end there. In 2018, he checked into Warriors Heart in Texas, a place of healing for first responders and veterans battling PTSD and addiction. Now, living with stage 3 kidney failure, Robb is asking a powerful question: what is my purpose? Today, he shares his journey, the battles, the breaking points, and the hope he carries forward. This is a story of resilience, redemption, and a fight to find meaning after sacrifice. Welcome, Robb.
You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 8158 Podcast, Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guest is we have Robb. He is fire at EMS. So let's welcome Robb to the podcast. How's it going, Robb?
It's good, man. I appreciate you having me on here.
Not a problem. It's an honor to be able to share the room with, our first responders. We love that. And we love giving you guys a voice.
They're good folks.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and talk about your early life. Can you share about your childhood and what that was like growing up in Arkansas?
Yeah. So growing up in Arkansas was great for a kid. A lot of different things to do outdoors. Me and my friends would find these little creeks, and we'd catch our own bait, and we would just go fishing. Use biscuit dough, put some honey on it, and try and catch whatever we would catch. And then as you got older, got into hunting, and that part of life was really good growing up. My dad was fairly abusive growing up. When I was 7 years old, we lived in Memphis at the time, and this kid's walking home with me, and my dad meets us, and he said, and this kid walking home with me says, "Hey, I took these dudes were picking on Robb, and I took up for him." He was proud that he took up for me, right?
Right.
So my dad let him walk off. He grabbed me up, and he said, "If you ever let somebody pick on you, and somebody else takes up for you, I'm kicking your ass when you get home." And he said, "If you ever lose a fight, then I will kick your ass again when you get home." So at a young age, that shaped me to, I think it was a lot of fear, right? Obviously. And, as life went on, somewhere in my head, I took it as disrespect. And I won't allow anybody to disrespect me today. It turns out bad for all of us.
Right.
So growing
Yeah.
up. Interesting.
I kind of grew up in a very abusive home.
Mm.
I mean, my stepdad wouldn't tell me he was going to kick my ass because I had two older brothers, so I was pretty well versed in fighting back.
Yeah, look, there's positives that come out of it for me. I mean,
Yeah.
when I got to be an adult, or even in high school years, I was really tough. You in sports, man, it helped me a bunch for a couple of reasons. One, it made me tough. Uh, I can endure a lot, um, and sports was my outlet. The outdoors was my outlet, unless my dad was with me. That was
Right.
not a pleasant experience, fishing or hunting with him. But being able to go, you know, out past my backyard and ride my bike in the woods and just whatever it was I did, BB guns and whatever. Those things were my outlets. Um, and when it came to sports, especially baseball, I worked. I worked as hard as a Hebrew slave.
So, with your passion being shaped around sports,
Mhm.
um, how did that work out for you as far as your activities in
Yeah,
sports?
yeah. Um, I was okay in football. You know, um, uh, I broke my collarbone my senior year, um, and then the summer before that, playing baseball, which I really excelled in, um, I tore part of my ACL. So they just went in back then, and they just, they didn't do a knee reconstruction or anything like that. They just went in and cleaned it up, basically. And
Okay.
but um, there was good. He was also my coach a lot of times, which was a train wreck, right?
Yeah.
Um, but still, it made me work really hard. Obviously, subconsciously, I would imagine I was trying to get some kind of approval from him, which obviously it didn't happen. In the state of Arkansas, my junior and my senior year, I was voted uh, the best in my position. I was a catcher, and uh, I got a lot of letters and I got some offers, for college, and um, but not really where I wanted to go. So I went, and in baseball, major leagues will have maybe think of it as a pro day where you get to run through a bunch of drills, and college coaches, they'll come and watch and see what you're doing and talk to you after that a lot of times. Um, but off of that, I got a scholarship, and uh, I was asked to, if I didn't go to college, I was asked to come and uh, try out for them in A ball, which is pretty cool. So, but I went to junior college, and things were going good, and I hurt my shoulder, and in a very simple thing, it was my left shoulder, not my right from throwing or anything, but it had popped out of joint. So I started doing rehab, and our coach at the time, the head coach, he was he was a scout for the Houston Astros, so he was gone all during fall ball. But he had this coach, student coach, that was all roided up and had a mohawk, and just he didn't teach us a daggum thing, right? Well, he'd come and tell me if I didn't play in fall ball, that I'd lose my scholarship.
Hmm.
So I would play, and my shoulder would dislocate again. Keep going back to rehab. developed what's called a subluxation, where it comes out and it goes back in. And so the head coach, the new head coach, who's the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks now, he came in and he said, I know about you. I know what's been going on. It's not fair, but you won't play baseball anymore, because if you have the surgery, you won't have any mobility. And if you don't have it, then your shoulder's going to keep popping out. And, he apologized. He said, I'll be happy to redshirt you, and then you can go to school here next year also free of charge. I didn't have any – I wasn't going to school to learn. I was going to school to play baseball, right? The prior coach wasn't worried about our grades, and so that was the end of that. So, but it made me, made me competitive and to fight through struggles. And sports, from the very first time I got out on the field till the last time, it built in teamwork. It built in accountability, all the things that make an ambulance great, a firehouse great, police departments, everything to do with first responders, right? That cohesiveness, that team, knowing that I've got somebody there that'll die for me to protect me, and they know it's the same. So it just really carried over. Pretty cool. I didn't think about it, at all then, obviously.
Right. So playing your last game, how did that make you feel, knowing that you were going to be able to go back to playing ball again?
I think I was probably glad. I was really tired of doing physical therapy. Every single player on that team had to physically fight with that coach. It was like a passing of the guard or something for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was glad not to be around that. I didn't mind fighting or anything like that. But from a coach, we didn't learn anything. So I think I just took it just as I breathe.
Right.
No big deal. It just is what it is, and so I could have went to different colleges all over the state of every. Let me back up. I could have went and played baseball at several different colleges, one in California, Arizona, different places far from here, Arkansas. But I'd been dating this little girl who I didn't realize how much I loved until I married her.
Right.
And she's been with me through this whole journey. Could have, should have left me time and time again. So it was worth it in the end.
I know we're going to get a little deeper into that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of your family struggles, like when your parents divorced when you were 19.
Yeah.
And how did that affect you and your relationship with your father?
It ended it. Sometime before that, when I was 17, he was in my face, and he was bad about pointing me in my forehead, pointing me in my face, Then he would start, he never hit me in my face. He just hit me in my chest and stomach and whatnot. And I had enough. And I went and got my shotgun, loaded it, racked a shell in there as a pump, and took it to him and pointed it in his face and said, if you do that again, I'll kill you. You quit hurting my mom, I'll kill you if you keep it up. And he left not long after that. But I didn't talk to him from the time I was 19 until, so that would have been, let's see, I didn't talk to him from 1988 until about 2001 when I'd gotten hired at the fire department. I was a firefighter paramedic. And these two guys were brothers. Big dudes, like 6'4", 6'5", built. And I'd known one of them. We'd worked together at an ambulance service and stuff like that, but we didn't really know each other. They come up and say, hey, we need to let you know that we're your brothers. I'm thinking, brothers, like they're inviting me in type stuff, right?
Right.
I said, oh, that's cool. I appreciate it. They said, no, your dad married our mom. That's the first time I knew anything. And I was like, that's interesting, right? But so once the divorce happened, I didn't have any contact with him.
Yeah. So how'd that make you feel knowing that you had these two stepbrothers?
I don't know. Now, I'm thankful, Then I was probably just didn't want the hassle. But they said, look, he comes around the firehouse and we work each other's shifts. So I took it upon myself to reach out, and we talked for, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, and just wasn't really working out. So I didn't talk to him anymore until I called him to let him know that I had forgiven him and that I loved him, because that's what God wants of me.
Right.
And then I didn't talk to him anymore. Have boundaries. We all have to have boundaries on certain things.
Absolutely. You definitely got to have boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to people, even with family members.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. If not, whether it's getting sober or working on yourself in some way, there's going to be people in your family, outside of your family, close people that you're going to have great boundaries on. And that's anything in life I've learned.
Right. Even if it means separating yourself from them.
100%. Doesn't mean I hate them.
Right.
I still love them.
Exactly.
But, and if they called and they really needed something, I would be there. Just like they would be for me, probably. Or I would hope. I don't know. Right? But part of forgiveness is it takes a lot off your shoulders. And just because I forgive him at that moment when I told him that, it didn't mean I forgive him. He made up all kinds of excuses, and I wanted to kick his teeth in. I probably hated him even worse before I told him that I forgive him.
Right.
But I had a preacher, and he told me, he said, you're going to have to pray that God will bless your dad. And I'm like, you're crazy. You read that in that other Bible. That ain't right. But and I couldn't for a good while. But once I did, and I went through that process, man, it was a big relief, because whether you're forgiving yourself or trying to forgive others, if you don't, you become very bitter about everything and everyone. And I think that that helped me in other ways, as far as trying to forgive myself for things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, forgiveness is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes you have to forgive yourself or you can forgive others.
Yeah.
You know,
I think, it's said that you can't give what you can't receive,
right,
right? So if I can't forgive somebody, why would I expect them to forgive me?
right.
You know, and you don't forgive somebody for them. You forgive for yourself,
Yeah,
right? And because you can't control what they're going to do or say, right? And uh, uh, it can be pretty devastating if you're expecting a certain reply and you're forgiving somebody for something that you've really held on to for a long time,
yeah,
and they don't reply the way that you hope that they do, and that can really mess some people up. You know, expectations are dangerous.
yeah. That they are.
I'll tell you, this is this is off subject from where we're talking right now,
Mhm.
but on expectations. So, as a firefighter, police officer, as I was a paramedic, you get a call for a baby not breathing, and you get there, and this parent is going to give me, they're going to trust in me, the most precious thing that they have or ever will have, right?
Yeah,
And they don't know me, they don't know what I've done, right? But that's their expectation. Me going in and having experience, I'm pretty confident that whenever twitch breathing and they lose their heart rate, their pulse, you're not going to get them back typically.
yeah,
The odds of that are 6 to 10% now. When I was working, it was probably 3 to 6 or 7 maybe. Um, but our expectation is still that we want to save that baby.
right.
So my career, I never saved one kid like that. And I turned those expectations, in my mind, they were all failures. So I was an athlete. Everything was about win loss, right?
Yes,
And you get expectations put on you like that, and you don't meet those expectations, it becomes a demon later on in life, in your career.
that's a lot of weight to bear.
Yeah. They don't talk about it in school. They didn't when I went to school. You know, uh, they didn't talk about how to tell someone that their family members dead.
Yeah,
Certainly not how to tell someone that their child is dead. You know, uh, and most of the people that I worked with, um, they voice kind of the same thing. Kids, in some level, and uh, like I still struggle with it today. You
mhm.
um, if I can't, if I go to a store and there's a kid crying or there's somebody yelling, it doesn't work out very well for me. If I'm in a restaurant and a kid's crying, or I'm in a coffee shop and the frother goes off, it's really high pitched.
Mhm.
I jump every time, and then it's a. I hate. Sorry about that. I hate the word trigger. I think the word trigger gets thrown around too easily nowadays, like catchword. Um, but uh, it sets me off. you know. So
Do you think it has something to do with part of the traumas of the job that sets you off like that?
yeah, for sure, for sure. You know, my night I would be back then when I was in bad shape, still working. I could be at a store, a Walmart, and I'd be having a flashback, and I look at a kid, and it would be that dead kid, you know, and I didn't know what it was, you know, I didn't understand it, you know. A lot of times I would just eat it and walk past and move on. But then my nightmares would be of kids that I had worked on. Those would turn into my kids. And the more that I had those nightmares, the realer it got. Um, and, you know, that was the most difficult part for me, were the kids, and really telling a parent that their child is dead. Those cries and those screams, there's not many that are like that in life that you would hear. And those things are what have stuck with me.
Something that you can never wipe out of your memory.
You don't. Uh, it amazes me the people that can, you know, do this for 30 years, you know, or they work on the street for 25 or 30 years. First off, I don't know how physically they do that, you know. Most of us that worked on it, you know, for any length of time, we've all had joint replacements and back surgeries and neck surgeries and shoulder surgeries. But even mentally, it just doesn't compute with me. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying that at all, right? Mm-hmm. But it amazes me and it intrigues me. What are they doing that we're not doing to help them get through that?
Right.
And work that long. And I don't know what that thing is.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't tell you. I mean, some people may be wired differently.
100%.
Majority of people are affected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trauma affects everyone differently.
Yeah.
Just like medicine affects everyone differently, right?
Yeah.
But we don't think of things like that, because I think most of us are really in the moment type of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how we've conditioned ourselves. We weren't taught that probably, but you have to be in the moment to treat somebody. And I think that breeds compartment, how you say it? Compartmentalizing, right? That's how compartmentalizing starts. You're so in the moment on scenes, you know, you're not thinking about tomorrow. You're not thinking about the next call, and it may condition that. Because when I talk to people about PTSD, I tell them, imagine that you have a closet in your brain, just like you might have in your house closets, and one of your closets is full of good memories and good things. And that's what you refer back to, right? Somebody brings something up, subconsciously, here comes a memory of something good. For us, our bad closet is bursting out. And when it bursts open, we are in a really bad place. And we start to spiral down. You know, a lot of times it's not a fast spiral. It's not like a drop.
Right.
It's slow, and it marinates, right? And then when it does come all the way out, we can't handle it. You know, and we try and be strong or stoic, and we're not going to talk about it, right? Because we don't want to. We don't want our problems being somebody else's problems. We're the ones who do the heavy lifting,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're okay with putting our lives on the line for people that we have no idea who they are or what they've done or what they may do. But at some point, for most people in this profession, it ends up where everything comes out at once.
Yeah, definitely explodes. We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
So let's talk a little bit about how hanging out at the fire station turned into pursuing a career in fire and EMS.
Yeah.
Briefly.
So I was working for a landscape company. I was maybe 19, I guess, and drank most days after work with the people that worked there. And the owner and this other guy, he never drank. He was a North Little Rock fireman, but they were volunteers at the fire department down the road. Those tones would go off on their pagers. They'd go running. And then here come the fire truck or the basic level volunteer ambulance. They come back with their stories and this and that. And say, man, that sounds cool, you know? So I started going down there and hung out a little bit. And I liked the camaraderie, you know, just like what I had when I was playing sports, you know? And then the more I got into it, I was able to go in and fight fires, and that was better. I've done some drugs. That was better than any drug. Being the first one in on a fire, kicking that door in, smoke and fire rolling over you, that was awesome. And so they had a somebody was holding an EMT class at the fire department. I took it and became an EMT, and not thinking that I wasn't the guy that was thinking of his future. My future in my mind had been blown up.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't play baseball. And so I was just trying to do things that were fun. And it was fun, joking around with each other, breaking each other's chops. That was a lot of fun to me. Some people, especially nowadays, they look at it as something different. But it's just part of it.
Right.
You got to learn how you can trust somebody somehow.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get their feelings hurt over a joke.
Right.
If they are, I don't know about
them.
Right. But it worked for many, many, many decades and produced lifesavers. But I just really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And then I learned a lot, I started riding along. I didn't do anything. I was the fetcher. Go get this, go get that. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So how many years total did you work in fire and EMS? 18 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's quite a long time.
Yeah, and they were, except for the volunteer side, worked in very busy cities. So a lot of trauma, a lot of death, all kinds of stuff. A lot of BS calls that really wear you down, probably more than anything.
Oh, I imagine.
Somebody waiting on the curb with their suitcase.
Need an ambulance, right?
Yeah.
So, do you remember the self-inflicted gunshot call and what impact did it have that moment on you and your psyche?
Yeah, I'll never forget it. I probably think about it several times a week. Nothing that I could have done, nothing anybody could have done. I think that again, I was an in the moment person. And growing up, how I dealt with my dad was really compartmentalizing, probably.
Yeah.
And like I didn't think about Carl's death for many, many years. I mean, I was towards the end of my career, or I was completely out of my career when I remembered it. There's a lot of things that I don't remember, but I think that it, in my own way, it showed me that I could do that job because it didn't bother me. I didn't let myself think about it. I didn't even go to the funeral. I wish I would have, but I didn't because I think subconsciously I knew that if I could put it out of my mind, I'd be okay. And it showed me that I could do the job. So it gave me confidence some weird way.
Right.
But it could have been also a premonition to that maybe I should do something different. I didn't take it that way, did I? We wouldn't be sitting here if I would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you know this person?
Yeah, we
personally?
grew up together from the 5th grade.
Oh, wow.
The same elementary school, junior high, high school. He was on the football team, played football together, you know. And I didn't know who it was until we got to the hospital and I was filling my paperwork out. And I saw this guy, this younger guy, and he was just losing it, yelling, screaming, you know. And I looked at him, I thought I knew that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to get the name of the person and turn my paperwork in. And that's when I realized that it was Carl. And I was like, holy shit, right? But that's probably the last thought I gave about it. I don't even know if I told, we weren't married, but we were dating. I don't even know if I told Melanie or told anybody, you know, even at the firehouse, maybe. I may have told somebody. I grew up with that guy. But at the time, it wasn't very impactful in my life because I was just so good at compartmentalizing. You know, and for people, for first responders, to be really good at the job is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing that we do that job, not only we're the ones who get the blessing, right? Whenever you do something for somebody, we're the ones who get the blessing. That's how I look at it. Right. But it's also a curse in that you have to
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So, and you know, now I see his brother on Facebook or in Instagram, and every time I see him, that's the first thing I think about, you know. But later in life, it's impacted me greatly.
You have some like recall of that, or
Yeah.
any kind of flashbacks.
I can see the scene as we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's. I know that there was nothing I could do. I don't look at that as a failure or a loss because of how devastating the injury was. But I think the failure aspect of it for me is I didn't go to the funeral. I didn't reach out to his little brother. None of that stuff. Those are the failures for me in that call.
You think you should have done something different, or would you have done the same thing?
For sure, I would have. You talking about on the call or after the call?
After the call, yeah.
Yeah, I wish I would have went up to Kevin, his brother. I wish that I went to the funeral. I wish that I would have kept up with his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the things that I wish I could redo.
Right. You ever thought about reaching out to him today?
Yeah, I think about it all the time. And, you know, I teeter on doing it. Am I doing it for me? Yeah. But me and doing that for me, is it going to bring up something bad for Kevin?
Right.
So I'd rather not do it at all.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You know, maybe if we meet sometime randomly, it might come up. But
right.
he may not even know that I was the one that worked on him. I don't know. But those are the regrets from that. So
Yeah. Hopefully someday can reconcile with him and
yeah, I think it's yeah, for sure. I think it's reconciling with myself.
Yeah.
That I was maybe 20 then, maybe 19, and I didn't know what to do with all that. Now I would know what to do with it, obviously,
Right.
So and that's one reason, like, I wanted to do your podcast, was there's so many first responders that don't think it's okay to talk about whatever is going on with them.
Yes.
And I wanted to know that it is okay. The weakest I've ever been is when I wouldn't talk about it. The strongest I've been is right now talking to you.
Right.
And my hope is that maybe just off of one person hearing what we're talking about will not do just one of the things that I went through and did.
Right.
In the aftermath. So the young me probably wouldn't have done anything different. The older me, 100%.
Right.
The old me, I wouldn't even have worked it because it was such a significant injury.
Right.
But experience dictates what we do and we don't do a lot of times.
You're right on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, would you like to share with us what it was like as a paramedic in Pine Bluff? And which of your calls were like the Wild West over there?
Yeah. So Pine Bluff in the early to mid 90s per capita was second in the nation in violent crime and murder rate. And there were two ambulance services in Pine Bluff. So, now it's all about, and even going through school is about scene safety. I didn't even know what that meant when I was working in Pine Bluff, because it was a race to the scene to beat the other ambulance company, right? So it put us into some very interesting situations where we would be, for instance, a gunshot victim, and its intestines had evolved outside. He was hanging on to his intestines, right? And he's still alive, and we're trying to work on him. It's dark, and we knew that he was going to die. But so and the police weren't there. Far from there. Asked him who did it, and he said whatever the dude's name was. Well, you know where he's at? Well, he's probably in the next room. So we're in this small house with the shooting victim and the person that shot him, right? And it worked out, for us. We got out safely. But then another time where we get a call, middle of the night, someone was sick is all they said. So a lot of times back in the early days, like dispatch was, what's wrong? I don't feel good. All right, we'll have an ambulance there in a couple minutes. Mm-hmm. Right. So we get this call, something generic, and me and my partner get there, and it's a mobile home, no lights, it's dark. So we shine our light in there, and we see somebody laying on the floor, and we don't know what's wrong with them, but we assumed that they were really sick, and so all we had was the big mag lights that we used to carry, and we went through that little trailer making sure nobody was there, and then went to the patient. Very risky.
Mm-hmm.
And there was things like that all the time. A shooting, and you get there, and there's no police there, a pretty good sized crowd, and it was dangerous, but it sure was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of great experience. And I went to paramedic school in Pine Bluff, and it was a great place to learn and go through paramedic school. And my clinicals were at the hospital there that was always busy. Wasn't any troubles getting the required things that I had to do to graduate. Plenty of intubations, plenty of surgeries, plenty of OB people, women having babies, So it was a great place for a young person to learn and get invaluable experience to carry the rest of your life. But we still talk about it, those of us that work there. We laugh about it a lot. Because we were young. We're all young. Yeah.
So when you talk about your personal shift, when did your wife first notice changes in your personality due to the job?
Mm-hmm. It's probably around 2000. And I was always an easygoing guy for the most part. Mm-hmm. But we had a dog, a lab, and I don't even remember what the dog did. But I was yelling and I'll kill it and this and that. And that was probably the first time. And she really didn't say much. Later, she said that that's like the first thing. But there's a point in our marriage where, and mind you, we'd known each other since she was in the 8th and I was in the 9th grade.
Right.
She said, "You're not the same person I married." Well, I took offense to that. And I was like, no shit, because I didn't ever tell her nothing about calls or this happened or that happened. I think because I wanted to protect her. And all she sees is a byproduct of I was starting to isolate. My anger was a lot more. No communication about anything. And, she saw it. And she never really, that's probably the only thing I remember that she said. Until I left the fire service. And she was like, "I'm so glad you're not doing that anymore." I thought it was just because I was gone every third day, But there's a lot more to it, But the dog, because I really like that dog, and I'd have never done that to that dog. Yeah. It was so out of character, I care for dogs. I do most people. But that was the first thing, And as most of us, especially men, were not very good communicators anyway. And she would, a lot of times back then, she would say something, and I was just not present. And I wouldn't even hear what she's saying. It's like I'd see her mouth moving, and I might hear it, but just like everything else, it was gone. I put it away. I put it behind me. It was somewhere else, you know? And thank God she's the woman that she is.
Right.
You know? I don't know that we'd be sitting here talking if she wasn't.
Yeah. Possibility. So share with us what those years were like when you were struggling with sleeping, having nightmares, and then evidently you turned to alcohol and narcotics.
Yeah. So when I was at the fire department, which is the last 4 years of my career, started having trouble sleeping, nightmares constantly, so much so to where I'd be afraid to go to sleep. I didn't want to sleep because I knew what was coming, and that would turn into one night, 2 nights, and I was back at the firehouse. And even then, it started to where I wouldn't sleep at the firehouse. And we'd be tired because we were busy most days, training or doing something. And in back then, we carried, as far as narcotics, Valium and morphine. And you never give it all, right? You titrate it to the desired effect.
Right.
And when you get to the hospital, you hand your patient off. You ask them to witness you wasting the leftover narcotic. They signed a piece of paper. Well, it was easy enough to transfer that narcotic into another syringe and then just put saline in the narcotic syringe.
Right.
And it didn't start off with that. Back up. It started off with I would just get I just get Benadryl, right? I just grab a thing of Benadryl and give myself an injection at home to try and sleep. It worked, but then it quit working. And then, if I gave somebody a narcotic, I would keep some for myself and, do that when I got home. Nobody knew. My wife didn't even know until 5 or 6 years ago, probably.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I never told a soul. And, I started drinking a lot when I was about 17. And I just carried on and throughout. I didn't drink every day, but it was pretty consistent.
Right.
And so I didn't drink at home that much. But if I went somewhere, if I went somebody to their hunting camp, their lodge, I was drinking a lot. So that carried on until I quit. So it was how I coped. It was how me and my partner coped. There'd be a night on there, we'd have a night off or something, and his wife and my wife, we would go and meet at a Mexican restaurant and go to the bar. And my wife, she's never drank. And his wife didn't drink. And we just start doing shots, We'd end up somewhere else. We'd go from here to there and there and whatnot. But not knowing, but that was our coping mechanism.
Right.
You know, we hunted, we fished. Those are all things that we did that helped us, not knowingly.
Right.
The worst thing that somebody can do, not the worst thing, but one of the things that people shouldn't do in this field is to quit doing the things that they love, because it's an escape from what you do for a living.
Right.
It's hard to not play all this stuff back in our head on our days off. What could we have done different? What could we have done better? Did I miss something? Right?
Right.
Or, man, that was a really good call. And I would think about that. You know, there's no shut off button. But if I was doing something outdoors, drinking, which wasn't the right thing to do at all, I wasn't thinking about it. Give my brain a rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I should have been doing was talking about it to somebody, whether it was my partner. Some people say your spouse, your significant other, whatever works for somebody. You know, I didn't tell my wife stuff because I didn't want her to know how evil the world is. And it's as evil as it gets, you know? And so drinking was not very good for me.
Right.
I didn't think that I was an alcoholic until I was about day 40 in rehab. And I realized that that's the longest that I'd went consecutively without drinking since I was 16 or 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what finally led you to kind of step away and seek treatment at Warrior's Heart?
A suicide attempt.
What happened? What was that?
I was at the fire department, and I just knew that I had to do something because I was starting to think about suicide.
Right.
And I don't mean just every once in a while. It was an everyday occurrence. And then every tree looked like a good tree to run into.
Yeah.
And then, so I started seeing a therapist through our work. And this was in 2005. And PTSD was a new word back then. And she told me, she said, I think you've got PTSD. She told me what it was, you know, and it was all about what people experience during war. I was like, well, that ain't me. I ain't been in the military. I don't deserve that, you know. So we had a couple sessions, and the last one, I was in really bad shape. She said, we're going to try something different. She said, I've only read about it. She said, it's either going to help or it's going to hurt. Okay, let's do it. And I don't even remember what we did. I don't remember leaving that therapist's office. There was a lake that wasn't far from there. And the first thing I remember is looking down, I had a razor knife in my wrist. And it like surprised me.
Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.